Okay, picture this. You're sitting in a conference room, and the pressure is on. It's a high-stakes regulatory audit. The auditor picks up a single document, a single requirement, and they start to pull. What they're looking for is a thread, an unbreakable chain of evidence that connects that one little thing to everything else. Today, we're going to dig into how to make sure that chain never, ever breaks.
Right. Let's get into it. This is the question, isn't it? It's the one that keeps quality managers and engineers up at night. Because, look, when an auditor pulls that thread, they're not just being curious. They expect to find a perfect, seamless connection from a stated need to how it was built to the proof that it works. If they find a loose end, your entire quality system is suddenly in doubt.
So what is this thread we're talking about? Well, it's called traceability. And it's not just some technical buzzword. It's the fundamental proof that your system does what you claim it does. It's explicitly demanded by major standards for a simple reason. It's the only way someone from the outside can verify that your process is solid, documented, and consistent from A to Z. And yeah, the consequences are immediate. A single broken link, a requirement with no test, or a test that's just floating out there connected to nothing. That's not a minor oops. That's a direct nonconformance. The audit finding literally writes itself because the empty space in your documentation is the evidence. So how do we stop this from happening? For years, the answer was just manual discipline. Endless spreadsheets, checklists, and a whole lot of human effort and hoping for the best. But there's a much better way. The real solution is to make traceability a structural property of your system, not just another task that people have to remember to do. So the heart of this whole structural approach is the traceability matrix. It looks simple, but it is incredibly powerful. You've got your requirements running down the side and your tests running across the top. An X simply marks where they connect. But, and this is key, this isn't some static document you print out for a meeting. It's a live, real-time picture of your project's health. In a single glance, this matrix gives you instant, actionable intel. You can see right away which requirements are covered, and, maybe more importantly, which ones are dangerously exposed, with no test coverage at all. You can also spot those orphaned tests, the ones not linked to anything, which is just as bad. And this is where that big shift in thinking really hits home. The old way, using spreadsheets, it's just so fragile. It's a house of cards. You delete one row, and you might have just created a dozen broken links you'll never find until the audit. But in a system with structural traceability, the system itself maintains those connections. The links are real, they're bidirectional, and they're automatically updated. Broken links basically become a thing of the past. Okay, but here's the thing. Linking your requirements to your tests is only half the story. That just answers the question, are we building the thing right? The much bigger, more important question is, are we building the right thing? And this is where traceability expands from just internal connections to proving external compliance with all those regulatory standards. And this, right here, is where modern tools can be a total game changer. AI can now automate what used to be a painfully manual gap analysis. So how does it work? You basically just provide the context, your country, your industry, the standards you need to meet. The AI, which has been trained on thousands of these documents, then reads through all of your requirements and intelligently maps them against every single clause in the standard. It then gives you back a detailed, actionable report on exactly where you're covered and where you're not. And the result is a beautifully clear, visual summary of your readiness. For something as critical as ISO 1385 for medical devices, you can see instantly where you stand. You see what's covered, what's partially there, and most critically, you see that 7% gap. That's the gap an auditor lives to find. And you can drill down even deeper. This isn't just some vague, high-level number. It's a concrete count. Right here, we see exactly 21 clauses are totally covered, 4 have some coverage, and 2 are complete gaps. This lets your team focus their energy with surgical precision, right where it matters most. Now, this idea of structural linkage, it doesn't stop with requirements and standards. It has to extend everywhere. And that's really the main takeaway here. Traceability isn't just a feature you bolt on or a report you run. It has to be the very architecture of your quality system, connecting every single thing. Think about risk assessment, for example. A high-risk item on your matrix isn't just a red flag floating in space. No, it's structurally linked straight back to the specific requirement that carries that risk. And that requirement is, in turn, linked to the tests that prove you've dealt with it. The chain is complete and totally verifiable. It's the exact same story for design controls. You can follow the breadcrumbs from a single user need, from the very first idea on a Kanban board,
all the way through the design inputs, and finally to the V&V test results that prove you built what you said you would. And of course, there's the evidence itself, the final link in the chain. All those files, screenshots, and logs, they aren't just buried in a folder somewhere, they are attached directly to the requirement they satisfy. For an auditor, finding that proof is now just one click away. And finally, you have the traceability of changes over time. We call this the audit trail. This is your uneditable, permanent log of every single change made to anything in the system, who did it, what they did, and when they did it. For regulations like 21 CFR Part 11, this is absolutely non-negotiable. Okay, so we've seen how traceability connects all the dots. But can we boil all this complexity down? Can we actually quantify our audit readiness with one single clear verdict? You bet we can. So how do you get to that one number? Well, you build a composite score from the key pillars of traceability. You can see here it weighs requirement and test coverage the heaviest, because that's foundational. But it also factors in test pass rates, whether your risks have been assessed, and if everything has been properly signed off. Each metric here measures a different, vital facet of that unbreakable chain. And the result is a single, powerful number. A score like 92% isn't just a vanity metric. It gives you quantifiable confidence. It tells you and your team that your traceability is strong, your documentation is solid, and you are ready for that auditor to pull any thread they want. So let's bring it all the way back to where we started. Why does any of this matter so much? Because at the end of the day, for an auditor, traceability isn't just more paperwork. It is the only way they have to physically prove that your quality system is real and that it actually functions the way you claim it does. It's how they separate talk from truth. So, I'll leave you with this one last thought to chew on. Take a hard look at your own processes. Is traceability something you do, a task, a chore, another spreadsheet you have to update? Or is it something you have, an inherent structural part of your system's architecture? The answer to that question could very well be the difference between a smooth audit and a major finding.